Good afternoon, and welcome to a very special edition of Live at 5. We're bringing you the news, justice for the next generation style. I am your host, Greg Drumwright, and we will be sharing some breaking news and updates concerning social justice in this nation. Our timelines, social media feeds have all been teeming with developments in the athletic organizations, the judicial system, political leadership, and so much more. And so here at the Citadel, we want to keep you informed of the details as this justice unfolds. Indeed, this is a movement and not just a moment. So, are you ready? Let's go. Here, we will be kicking off this broadcast with the Association of the Basketball Developments, who are now making positive headlines in the fight for justice. Just this week, the NBA's Board of Governors announced a massive $300 million commitment for the newly created NBA Foundation, dedicated to creating economic empowerment within the Black community. Way to go, NBA. The foundation is seeking to assist national and local organizations that provide skills training, mentorship, coaching, and pipeline development in NBA markets and communities across the United States and Canada. The foundation also plans to work with national and local organizations dedicated to education and employment, as well as international partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities. NBA baller and NBPA president Chris Paul is spearheading these efforts. Mr. Paul is looking to produce a docuseries on the struggles HBCUs face in college basketball recruiting. Even though he did not attend an HBCU himself, he has always been a supporter. I am an alum of North Carolina A&T and Wake Forest, where Paul played and graduated. And just this week, Chris Paul was on the court supporting my alma mater. Chris Paul, we salute you, brother, for the work that you are doing, using your platforms to uplift marginalized communities and historically Black colleges and universities. Folks, the NBA is really showing their support in more ways than one. In Florida, the Orlando Magic are now wearing justice messages on their jerseys after the reopening of the NBA season. Way to go, NBA, for all of the work that you all are doing to uplift the messages that Black lives do matter, even at the professional sports level. I want to also say that we found out that the MLB, the baseball league, is actually doing some amazing work as well as they press into their season. Thank you to all of the sports commissioners, presidents, and heads of these leagues for everything that you are doing towards social justice in America. Next, we're going to Louisville, Kentucky. That's right, where there has been an ongoing battle in the case of Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency room technician who was fatally shot in her own home by the Louisville Metro Police Department. Officers were executing a no-knock warrant, which became a shootout leading to Taylor's death. 20 rounds was shot into the home, 8 of which struck Breonna, who suffered for more than 20 minutes without medical attention. We have yet to see justice, nor have we seen very much progress. Daniel Cameron is Kentucky's first Black Attorney General and the African American to be independently elected to a constitutional office statewide. However, his accolades are not why he is making national attention. Instead, he's in the spotlight for the alleged mishandling of the investigation in the death of Breonna Taylor.
That at the end of our investigation, we will do what is right. We will find the truth. I urge everyone watching, regardless of your opinions and beliefs, to do the same. Violence and lawlessness will do nothing more than perpetuate further tragedy. We have the full resources of our Office of Special Prosecutions and our Department of Criminal Investigations involved in this investigation. Our team of investigators and prosecutors with more than 200 years of combined experience are working diligently on the case at my direction. As the Chief Prosecutor for the Commonwealth, my role and the role of my team is very different than that of a civil or criminal defense attorney. I have a specific obligation to see that anyone accused of a crime is accorded procedural justice and that guilt is decided upon the basis of sufficient evidence rather than public opinion. I take this responsibility very seriously. We are not going to strike foul blows in this case. We are going to pursue the truth based upon the law, whether that lands to convictions or exonerations. Because we need the flexibility to fully investigate the facts, I'm not going to provide a specific date that our investigation will be concluded. However, I can assure you that we understand the urgency, we understand the public outcry, and we understand the need for the truth and the desire for justice. We are going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that at the end of the day, everyone knows that we've run a thorough and fair investigation, that we've been meticulous in our assessing the information that we have, that we've gone about an independent investigation. And I hope that all 120 counties, Jefferson County, Louisville specifically, will recognize that we are doing everything we possibly can to ensure confidence in this process, to know that from the top down, we're working diligently around the clock to make sure that this process is fair to all.
It was Cameron who decided to keep the details of this case private. Instead of appointing a special prosecutor, he opted to keep the case within his office because of the, and I quote, importance of this matter, the heavy workload associated with the investigation, and the amount of time that had already transpired since the shooting, end quote. However, there's been nothing filed in the 147 days and counting since Taylor's death. It's really questionable whether this matter is truly important in Cameron's eyes, especially since the attorney and his fiancée have tied the knot in the same amount of time that this case has been ongoing. We're going to stay right there in Louisville and talk about Breonna Taylor's case concerning the police chief and the public servant's involvement in a committee meeting, in a council meeting. That's right. Louisville's police chief walked out of a governmental oversight committee meeting Monday, citing a recent lawsuit for keeping them from answering questions about the death of Breonna Taylor. David McAtee and the police's actions around these protests. They were advised, according to a city spokesperson, by their lawyers to leave and decline to give evidence publicly. Their lawyers said that testifying before this council would jeopardize a federal civil rights lawsuit, which was filed last week against Mayor Greg Fisher and council members who slammed the duo after they left and voted to subpoena both Schroeder and Hess, the chief and the police's and the city's special prosecutor, to the council meeting. This is a very interesting development out of Louisville, Kentucky. How could the police chief and public officials leave the very first council meeting since this investigation has begun? All right, this is very interesting. We're going to stay on those developments out of Louisville, Kentucky. Now, Kanye West, president? That's right. As you all may have heard by now, Kanye West has launched his presidential bid. Kanye West is being supported by Republicans. Did you know that? That's right. Will the 2020 election results be flawed by another scandal? However, there's something brewing concerning the Trump administration. Well, there's a whole lot brewing around his administration, specifically involving Kanye West this time. According to the New York Times, at least 6 Republican operatives, some who are tied to the Trump camp, are actively working to get Kanye West on the 2020 ballot. One of those operatives is Mark Jacoby, an executive of the Let Voters Decide, was arrested for voter fraud in 2008. Jacoby has been collecting signatures on behalf of West in Ohio, West Virginia, and Arkansas. Additionally, Chuck Wilton, a convention delegate and member of the Electoral College, has been linked to Mr. West's campaign. According to NBC News, the hip-hop icon has submitted petitions to make the ballot in Arkansas, Colorado, Illinois, Missouri, Ohio, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. The West camp is beginning to see more aid arise out of Republican swing states. President Trump was recently questioned about his opinion concerning Kanye West and his campaign. Let's see what he had to say.
Connected to Kanye West's effort to get on the ballot have been connected to the Republican Party. Is this
Whose ballot?
Kanye West.
With Kanye
he's getting on the ballot,
Oh.
including in swing states. And as you know, his wife has raised issues about whether he's having mental issues right now. So my question to you is...
That Kanye West does? I don't know that. Who said that?
His wife said he might be going through an episode. But anyway, my question
I
to
like
you
him.
is...
I mean, I like him. He's always been very nice to me.
Are you aware of
He's
any of
talking
the
about
efforts...
Kanye West.
Are you aware of or have you encouraged anyone in the party to help him get on the ballot, including in swing
No,
states?
not at all. No, not at all. Other than I get along with him very well. I like him. I like his wife. His wife recommended certain people, as you know, including Alice Johnson, who's a fantastic woman, but his wife recommended certain people to get out of prison. They were in prison for a long time, a long, long time. It should have never happened. And I took what she said very strong, Kim Kardashian. And she's got a good heart, very good heart. And I like Kanye very much. No, I have nothing to do with him getting on the ballot. We'll have to see what happens. We'll see if he gets on the ballot.
When have you ever known a presidential candidate to endorse one of his opponents in the election? Ladies and gentlemen, this is very questionable activity and association around the 2020 presidential bid. So it would be my pleasure to inform you and advise you of these matters in hopes that you would be active in the voting of the 2020 election cycle. You have to vote. More to Kanye West. He recently came under fire for comments that he made at his first campaign rally. Now, many of you all have seen these videos go viral. We want to show you this right here on Justice for the Next Generation News.
Well, Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
While we are excited to see black men and black women involved in presidential politics, this is definitely not what we were expecting. Going back to Donald Trump, on John Lewis, the late, great John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, President Trump dismissed the legacy of Representative Lewis in an interview with Axios on HBO, reducing his legacy to making a, quote, big mistake by not coming to Trump's inauguration. Trump's comments were a glaring contrast with the praise Republicans and Democrats showered upon Lewis this week, and uplifting his personal grudges during a week of mourning for the civil rights hero. Here's a video clip that John
Going to say,
on
I'm not
HBO.
suggesting you haven't done a lot
I've done
economically.
a thing called criminal justice
I get it.
reform.
I'm just saying what
that your
changes.
friend, President Obama couldn't
It's
get
not my
done.
friend.
He
I'm
tried
asking about that
he
statistic.
tried, but he couldn't get it
I'm
done.
not-
I got criminal
I get
justice.
it. I get it.
I got opportunity zones. I took care of the historically black. You know, if you look at what I've done for colleges, for black colleges and universities, I got them funding. Obama never did it. I did more for the black community than anybody, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln, whether you like it or not. People say, "Oh, that's
You
interesting."
really, you believe you did more than Lyndon Johnson, who passed the Civil
I
Rights
think I
Act?
did, yeah.
How?
Because I
How
got criminal
possibly did you
justice
do?
reform done. I got prison reform.
Lyndon Johnson.
I've done things. Well,
He passed the Civil Rights
ask,
Act.
how has it worked out? If you take a look at what Lyndon Johnson did.
You think the Civil Rights Act was a mistake?
How has it worked out? Because frankly, it took a long time. But for African Americans,
But you think that was a
under my
mistake?
administration, Jonathan, under my administration, African Americans were doing better than they had ever done in the history of this country. So I did a lot. Job numbers, all of the money. They had money. They were getting great. Their percentage was up. Their housing ownership was up. They did better than they've ever done
I just don't
until
know
we
how
got
you
hit.
can-
And now, you know what we're doing? I'm building it up again. We're going to have it. Next year will be a great year, unless it's screwed up by somebody that doesn't know what he's doing, which could happen, but I don't think it will.
John Lewis is lying in state in the US Capitol. How do you think history will remember John Lewis?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know John Lewis. He chose not to come to my inauguration. He chose. I never met John Lewis, actually. I don't believe.
Do you find him impressive?
I can't say one way or the other. I find a lot of people impressive. I find many people not impressive. But no, but I didn't go.
Do you find his story impressive?
He didn't come to my inauguration. He didn't come to my State of the Union speeches. And that's okay. That's his right. And again, nobody has done more
Right.
for
but back
black
to-
Americans than I have.
I understand.
He should have come.
But
I
back-
think he made a big mistake. I think he
But
should have
taking
come.
your relationship with him out of it, do you find his story impressive, what he's done for this country?
He was a person that devoted a lot of energy and a lot of heart to civil rights, but there were many others also.
There's a petition to rename the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama as the John Lewis Bridge. Would you support that idea?
I would have no objection to it if
Yeah.
they'd like to do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Would have no objection to it whatsoever.
Mr. President, you've been so generous with your time, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Great honor.
Thank you so much.
Well, you heard it there. Donald Trump is touting that he has done more for HBCUs, or as he had originally put it, the historically black, not knowing where he was going after that. He is saying that he has done more for black and brown people, including our colleges and universities, than his predecessor, Barack Obama. However, here at Justice for the Next Generation, we are going to be unbiased in reporting this to you. There is a very small fact in what he's saying. Trump's administration has actually delivered more aid to HBCUs in this amount of time than the Obama administration. However, context is important. During Obama's administration, there was an economic downturn. Also, 8 to 10 years later, we must consider that there is inflation. The numbers are actually very close, actually too close to call. However, just above Obama's numbers, yes, the Trump administration has delivered more aid to the historically black colleges and universities. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be fooled by this. However, Obama did not have a Congress that passed many of his policies to help black and brown people, historically black colleges and universities included. Also, we must uplift Obama's work around the My Brother's Keeper initiative. which was a positive pipeline to educate black and brown students. It is very interesting to hear Donald Trump talk about Lewis's accomplishments for civil rights, where he virtually brought all Republicans and Democrats together in mourning this week as they paid tribute to the man whose nonviolent activism helped secure the passage of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. Rest in peace, Congressman John Lewis. Out of Aurora, Colorado, there are headlines concerning over-policing. Yet another case of civil injustice, this time from the Aurora Police Department. On August 2nd, just before 11 a.m. in what we call broad daylight, officers from the Aurora Police Department detained Britney Gilliam and her 4 younger relatives, the youngest being a 6-year-old black girl, by forcing them out of their vehicle and making them all lay face down on the asphalt of a parking lot while being handcuffed.
That's police brutality. I don't give a what nobody say. That's police brutality.
From right to left, the video shows a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
She's screaming for her mother, and I'm trying to calm her down.
Police say they detained this family because they got a report of a stolen vehicle from the parking lot at East Iliff Ave and Buckley Road. But Britney Gilliam's car wasn't what they should have been looking for.
He's like, something about the car being reported stolen. And I was like, this happened months ago. You guys cleared it. We had to pick up the car the next day, the very next day. So I'm not understanding what's going on.
Britney's car was stolen in February and found the next day. The vehicle that was actually reported stolen on Sunday morning was a motorcycle with Montana plates. It just happened to have the same license plate number as Britney's Colorado plate.
There's no excuse why you didn't handle it a different type of way.
Aurora police say they are trained to do what's called a high-risk stop when contacting a stolen car. That means weapons are drawn and the people in the car are told to lie on the ground.
It's like they don't care. Who am I going to call when my life is in danger?
The family filed a complaint against Aurora police. They want protocol to change so this won't happen to other kids. In Aurora, Katie Eastman, 9 News.
Thank you, KUSA, for giving us that report. The police were responding to a notification from a license plate reader which reported Gilliam's blue SUV as a stolen vehicle, when in fact, the license plate attached to the SUV was identical to the license plate of a stolen motorcycle from Montana. A bystander recorded the entire incident, and the cell phone video eventually went viral. The undeniable fear this situation created can be heard as the video, the young black family belting screams of terror as they lay on the concrete. Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson issued a public apology to the Gilliam family and addressed other issues involving people of color. This is what Vanessa had to say.
Do better. And we need to listen to the community and give them a voice and police them the way they want to be policed. I want to apologize again to the Gilliam family. This never, ever should have happened, and they never should have been treated that way. It was inhumane and just unbelievable to watch. And I know that people are angry and disgusted by what they saw, and so am I. You know, I have made changes around the circumstances of Elijah's case. I've changed the directive on suspicious persons calls so that if someone's called in as suspicious just due to the color of their skin, that officers don't have to be robotic in that response. Everyone in this country needs to recognize there's implicit bias in each and every one of us, and we have to accept it first. And that's the way we can then check ourselves.
While the Aurora police continue to clean up that mess, we're going to stay tuned to that case. As a matter of fact, I want you to stay tuned to our broadcast. We're going to break the stream and come right back in a matter of a few seconds. Stay right here for the rest of this special edition of Justice for the Next Generation News. And welcome back. Have you heard of Shaheen Mackey? If not, Justice for the Next Generation is excited to share this news with you. A video from the days leading up to Shaheen Mackey's death was leaked this week by his family, and it has civilians, activists, and his loved ones calling for a further investigation. In June of 2018, the 41-year-old was booked at the Luzerne County Jail in Pennsylvania for violating the terms of orders placed against him. Mackey, who had epilepsy, was suffering a seizure and was said by his family to be prone to convulsions. Instead of receiving proper medical attention, staff covered his face with a spit mask, covered his hands behind his back, shackled his feet, and tased him. After realizing that Mackey had lost consciousness, they even failed to give him proper CPR. Mackey died in the hospital 2 days later. His family has just won a $3 million settlement. However, that is not enough. Shaheen's family is calling for a new investigation after the Luzerne County District Attorney cleared the officers of any criminal wrongdoing. And the forensic pathologist determined that because no one had physically wrapped their hands around Mackey's death, even though he died from their lack of medical attention from, and I quote, natural causes. Rest in peace to Mr. Shaheen Mackey. We're moving forward.
Inmate name unknown.
I need you to calm down and comply. Moving your legs, stop resisting.
We're just trying to help you.
Breathe, there you go, breathe.
Yeah, relax.
Deep breaths.
We're trying to help you, that's all.
Just keep that spit mask up while he's got a lot of blood.
Stop, sir. Every time you move and resist us, you're going to be
Sir, you gotta stop resisting and fighting, sir.
Oh, stop.
Give me that tether.
Hold on.
All right, there we go. I got the tether.
He needs an ambulance.
Ambulance now.
Okay, so you guys on the arms. Watch the head. Watch the head. Watch the head. Get your shirt off.
Start.
1, 2, 1 guy on his arm. 6.
It's not fair. It shouldn't have to come to this, us putting a video out for people to see the truth. This is real pain. This is not a joke. This is real life. Accident, natural causes? Natural causes? Really? Come on. That's no natural cause. They let him sit in that chair and take his last breath, and they didn't care. But you don't see the crime that's being committed. How? I don't know how. Because it's right there. It's clear.
Y'all can't cover nothing up. Y'all saying he had a seizure and a heart attack. Y'all beat him until he had a heart attack. He got bruises all over his body. You can't tell me all of this is from a heart attack. That's not from a heart attack. He got broken ribs. His body's all swollen. Look how swollen his face is.
We apologize for those very graphic images, but I have one remaining question while his family calls for the reopening of that investigation. America, does that look like natural causes? Rest in peace, Mr. Shaheen Mackey. We'll stay on his case. And finally, this evening, we're moving back to Minneapolis, Minnesota, around the death of Mr. George Floyd. This past Monday, newly published body camera footage shows the initial moments of George's arrest and the final moments of his life. Shaking the earth once again, the Daily Mail published partial footage from the body cameras of 2 Minneapolis police officers involved in Floyd's arrest on May 25th. Floyd, a black man, died after former officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for nearly 9 minutes as George Floyd pleaded that he could not breathe. The leaked footage reveals that George pleaded with officers, exclaiming that he couldn't breathe nearly 30 times. While Officer Chauvin can be heard informing George that he was just talking fine in response to another officer who asked Chauvin about switching George's position. Chauvin declines, insisting that George remained as he was with his knee on his neck. I want to show you some more of that footage right now.
I see your hands.
Damn, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please, Mr.
Both hands.
Do nothing.
Put your hands up right now. Let me see your other hand.
What we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your hand up there. Hands on the wheel. Keep your hands on the wheel.
I'm sorry, sir.
Who else is in the car?
This is my
Put your foot back in.
I'm so sorry. God dang, man. Man, I got shot the same way as I was before.
Okay, well, when I say let me see your hands, you put your hands up.
I'm so sorry.
You got them?
Man, dang, man.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Last time I got shot like that was I was
Hands on top of your head. Hands on top of your head. Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Okay, please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not going to shoot you. Step out and face away.
I'm going to get you out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man. Please, man. I just lost my mom, man.
Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Please don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. Please. Don't shoot me, man.
Step out and face away.
Can you not shoot me, man?
I'm not shooting you. Step out and face away.
Okay. Please, man. Please. I didn't know, man.
Get out of the car.
I didn't know, Mr. Officer. I'm not that kind of guy, Mr. Officer. Please.
Face away.
Please, man. Don't leave me by myself, man. Please. I'm just claustrophobic. That's it.
Well, you're still going in the car. Grab a seat, man.
Man, y'all don't believe me, Mr. Officer.
Take a seat.
I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy, man.
Take a seat.
Y'all, I'm gonna die here.
Take a seat.
I'm gonna die, man.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No.
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please.
Fine.
My wrist, man. My wrist, man, please. I can't take this, man. I can't. I'm on the ground.
Get in the squad.
Very shocking footage around the final moments of George Floyd's life. Again, that video just leaked this week. There are still details around the cause of his death, the knee on his neck, which resulted in the loss of his life. Very interestingly and prophetically, Mr. George said, as you just heard, "You're going to kill me. I'm going to die." In the words of Floyd's daughter, Floyd's death has changed the world. As a matter of fact, let me correct that. In the words of Floyd's niece, his goddaughter, his death has changed the world, sparking protests and rallying people together all over the globe to fight for racial injustice and police brutality. Again, rest in peace, Mr. George Floyd. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 20 days away from the March on Washington. I want to give you an update before we conclude our Justice for the Next Generation news broadcast tonight. We are working hard with an African-American bus company as our vendor, and we are waiting on information from the bus company. There's a lot of complications in pulling this trip together. However, know that announcements are forthcoming. So what should you do in waiting for an opportunity to travel with Justice for the Next Generation to Washington, D.C.? You can do what Grandma told us a long time ago, put a nest egg aside, because there's one thing for sure. We're going to be there. And we apologize for the lateness of these updates. However, let us stay vigilant and let us stay diligent in our endeavor to stay connected to the movement, not the moment, of calling for social justice, especially in the lives of all of these and more that we have discussed tonight on this news broadcast. It has been my pleasure to bring you Justice for the Next Generation news. Please stay connected with us on YouTube at Greg Drumwright. If you're watching and you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that now. Also, J4TNG has launched a new website, J4TNG.org. Please go and check out our website. And we're also about to announce a fundraising initiative so that we can further our work in the community. Thank you so much for watching live at 5. I'll be back on the air tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific, for our Sunday service. That's right, Citadel, the online edition of our ministry, is continuing to pull us through this pandemic with our 3 p.m. church broadcast. Thank you to all of our new subscribers and our new viewers. We're hoping that you all will continue to share the good news coming out of the Citadel Church and Campus Ministry. We're also praying for all of our kids that are headed back to school. Please continue to join us for those updates and all others forthcoming as you and I endeavor to stay connected in the midst of this pandemic era. This has been Justice for the Next Generation, live at 5. Thank you for tuning in.